recording, I'm going to show you a little bit about how to make an object look like it's floating in water. So in this case, I have my pumpkin object, and then I have my boat, which will also be my container, and I want to make it look like it's floating in the water. Now, both of my objects have been non-destructively edited. I have converted them to smart objects first, and you can tell by the little icon in the bottom corner of their thumbnail. And then a layer mask was made, so this is non-destructively edited. So I can take the boat mask and delete it, and I can have my container or my entire image back. So that's how I know it's non-destructive. So I can hit Command Z to undo that, and I can do the same thing with the pumpkin. So there's my image, and Command Z to undo that. So they've been non-destructively edited. So the first thing I want to do to make this look like it's underwater is go click on my background layer or my water background. If your background layer is labeled background layer and locked, be sure to unlock it just by clicking the lock and then rename it so you know what it is. So I'm going to start out by duplicating the background layer, and there's two ways to do it. I can hold down the Option key on the keyboard. While I'm holding down the Option key, I can click and hold with my mouse, drag a copy of the background layer up, and drop it right above it. So I have made a copy, or I'm going to Command Z. There's another way to do it, which will be easier for you to see. I can go up to the hamburger, which are those horizontal bars in the upper right of the layers palette, and click on that and choose Duplicate Layer. And it will copy it. Water background copy looks good. I can click OK, and there it is, another copy. This is important because eventually some of this background layer is going to be over the boat. Now, while I'm on the background copy, I'm going to go grab my lasso tool here, and I'm going to put my feather at about 20 pixels because I want this to be a soft feather that I'm going to do. Now I'm just going to really roughly kind of select where I want the water to be over the boat. So I'm making a really organic shape. There's the water over the boat, and then I'm just going to kind of loop in and make a really large selection around the boat. Then what I'm going to do is on the water background copy, I'm going to create a mask. And it doesn't look like anything happened because of the layer order. I can take the water background copy and put it over the boat container, and now all of a sudden it looks like my object is in the water. So let me shut off some of these layers so that you can see how it looks. So I shut off the background layer, I shut off my boat layer. The only part of the background layer that I'm seeing is this little bit which is over the boat. And I was sure to do it while I was under the boat because then I could kind of see where I wanted it to go. So anyway, I just move it above the boat and it looks like it's in the water. Then if I want to go even a step further, I can take the opacity of that background down so I can see the boat under the water, or so it's more opaque. And I kind of like it around the 80, 90 kind of area just to see a little bit of the boat under the water there. So that's good. Now things are going to start to get crazy, so I think I want to put all of these images of my objects and container into a group. So to do that, I can click on the file folder at the bottom, and it's a group 1, and I'm going to call it Object and Container. And I'm just going to drag and drop all of my objects and container into that group. And I messed up the layer order, so I want to make sure the water background is above the boat, and I'm going to put the pumpkin back on top of it. So that way everything is combined. Now, in order to get my pumpkin to look like it's in the boat, I'm going to have to do some duplicating of my boat layer. So to do that, oops, I'm sorry, I hit the F key just to go to full screen there. So I just kept clicking it until I got back. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on my boat container and I'm going to duplicate it by holding down the Option key and just pulling it up. So there's my boat container copy. And instead of copy, I'm going to call this boat container front. I am going to make this part of the boat container just the very front part of the boat. The back part will not be part of this. So I don't get confused, I'm going to shut off the background layer, I'm going to shut off the original boat container, and I'm going to shut off the water background so there's nothing distracting me. I am going to grab my zoom tool, oops, I have Scrubby Zoom selected. I'm going to unselect that and just click and drag so that I have a nice close-up image of my boat. Now in this case, because these are straight lines, I can use my pen tool, or I think I can use my lasso tool, but I'm going to use the polygon lasso tool because I want straight lines. So I'm going to click, and I am going to try to very carefully click on just the very front edge of the boat, and it's a paper boat so it's not 100% straight. I'm going to make it as close as I can, and I'm going to be very close to the edge. Then I'm just going to very loosely select the background and make sure that when I'm using my lasso tool, I go back to the point I started with that little circle appearing next to my lasso tool, and now I've made a selection. Now, because this is a mask, I'm going to make sure that my brackets are around the mask of the boat. If I forget to do that, and I grab my paintbrush tool, you see I have the no-go sign. So I'm going to make sure that my selection is over the mask. Now I'm going to make sure that I have black on top, and I am just going to hide the boat. Now you see why I selected it. I can be really loose about how I'm coloring in the back of the boat, and I can kind of color over that line, but only the part I have selected is being edited. So I can hit deselect to deselect that, and I can turn on my background, I can turn on the boat container, so now I have the back part of the boat as well as the front, and my background water. Now I'm going to hit Command 0 to fit on the screen. Here's where it's going to get exciting. I'm going to take my pumpkin and I'm going to put it in between the boat container and boat container front. Now I can take my pumpkin and I can just put it in the boat wherever I want. Now part of my object is behind the container. It can be really low in the boat, but I don't want to go too low because then it looks like I can see it in the water. But really, if I wanted it to be very low, I could go to that water background, make it 100% opaque. Now I can put the pumpkin really low if I want, and I can't see it. But anyway, because I have the whole front, I have a part of the boat which is just the front and a part which is the back. I have put my pumpkin in between it. Now I can move it around and select and decide where exactly I want it to be in the boat. So just to summarize, I'm going to shut off these layers. So I have my water background, which goes on top. Then I have just the front of the boat. Then I have my pumpkin. Then I have the whole boat container, and then I have the water background. So that is how you make an object, or a container rather, look like it's floating in the water, and put an object inside of it. There you have it.